Hello, and welcome back to our 2021 Hate Crime Awareness Campaign. This week we're meeting with Nikki Yau, our racial hate crime advocate for the Foyle area of Northern Ireland. She's going to talk about how, unfortunately, racial hate crime is on the rise and what she's doing to effectively address it on the ground today. Here's what she had to say.
Thanks for inviting me here. About myself, well, as you can see, I'm Chinese, but I'm from Hong Kong. And when I first arrived to Derry, it's about nearly 14 years ago. And so as usual, I have my own takeaway. And then about 7 years ago, and with the recession and the benefit cuts, we decided to close our business down because it's just very hard to make profits. And so I get to be a stay-at-home mom for the first time ever. So it was great. And then I start helping SAPAC Chinese community as a volunteer. So I've been going to a lot of local meetings. And so I get to meet a lot of different organization, agency. And that's how I got to know about this post. So I decided to give it a go and see if I can get the job. And luckily, I got the job. So that was great. Well, I think because I was a victim myself, when I live in my house, I do get a lot of children knocking on my door. And I will be the first house to have the snowball in the wintertime. And it's very annoying. And it's like you would think, why is always me get the snowball and the children attacking us? Why is not my neighbor on both sides? Because I now notice that I am the odd one out because I am a foreigner. So in a way, I feel like maybe I should, do something. And since I start doing SAPAC voluntary work, I realize how many people is in the same situation. And with Chinese community, we do suffer quite a bit because we own takeaways and restaurants, and we do get a lot of hassle from that, a lot of racial verbal abuse. So Migrant Centre have 3 offices. So one in Belfast, one in Logan, and one in Derry. And at the moment, Migrant Centre offer the hate crime services, the EUSS settlement scheme, and also advice projects. So that just started this month. And with our job, our hate crime services, we listen to our client what they need, and then we will discuss and advise them. Maybe if it's neighborhood dispute, we will tell them maybe we should go to the housing and talk to the housing. And then if they want to sort out about mediation, I will go and arrange a mediation session. And also if they had a really bad injury, we will refer to victim support for injury compensation or counseling support, because you guys will do a better job on that as well. And also if you talk to them a bit more, sometimes they will say to you, I need social service support as well. Can you do that for me? Can you refer me to them? So we will do that too. So after long discussion, then we will try to see what the client wants, and I will refer them wherever they like, or even to housing rights. But maybe sometime with the compensation and something, or the emotional support, maybe later on in the case, then they go, oh, I'm not sleeping well. Maybe you should refer me to this then, that's it. Well, at the moment with the COVID situation and the lockdown, I have realized that there's a lot with neighborhood dispute and the youth, because the local youth clubs is closed and they got nowhere to go, even in the lockdown. And when they ease up a bit, then they still got nowhere to go. So they end up finding someone who's a bit different and targeting them. So I have a lot of that on my case, and neighborhood disputes where when the neighbor doesn't normally get to stay at home, you know, and they're outgoing and they lose that social communication, and then I think mental issue have impact on that. So that's why that's the main two things in our books at the moment. But before, you would get a lot of people maybe walking down the street and you get people doing saying verbal abuse to them, and maybe they don't like the look of you and they attack you. You know, that happened to some of my clients too, which end up referring to victim support for compensation. It just like, it's hard to say as well, because that our client have language barrier too. So luckily, Migrant Centre, most our staff is bilingual, so we can ask for help. But if we don't have that language, we will get interpreter. And so it's great, but sometimes you just have to work with the time slot as well. And sometimes you struggle to get the response with the police, you know, because their time schedule, where they have 3 days on, 3 days off, and sometimes you really want to get into this, but you can't, or your emails got lost in their list. So that's a bit hard. And I think you should tell your client as well the expectation of the timeline, because a lot of them want to see result quickly, but it does not happen. And sometimes with the language barrier, you get certain agency will still send them English letters, which they don't have a clue about, and they will come to me, so I'll have to send it to my interpreter to tell them. But I will ring the agency to remind them, can you translate this letter into their language so they can read it, you know? And that's what, if my client want that, I'll do that, you know. I think, what else? Traveller as well. And I get some travellers client too, and they would struggle with housing issues as well. So we help them. And sometimes if I feel that I can't go on anymore, I will refer them to travellers organisation like Bright Right. So they are very good and helpful with travellers as well. I mean, it's great sometimes when you see some clients and they actually say, oh, I never knew that your service exists, and I'm so glad that we have your support. And even though sometimes I can't actually do anything, but having somebody behind me and give me advice and listen to me is great. And some migrant doesn't have any family or friends here, so they found it really grateful. When I remember literally last week, I rang this guy and he was telling me that he doesn't have any family here and he has 3 young children and his wife was killed in a car accident. So he's really struggling. And he was saying, I'm so glad you rang and that you care about my situation, you know, even though I know you can't do much with the youth, but I'm so glad you're there. So it does make you feel happy you're doing this job and you would like to see some result. And sometimes when you do go to cases and they actually went to court and they actually, maybe the youth just go to the youth justice system, but still that's a result, and at least hopefully they will learn from their mistake and stop targeting migrants, you know. And some of the cases where, sadly, most of my cases were never actually gone to court, they always got thrown out by PPS. So in a way, client found that very disappointing, where they can't see the justice, and you try to explain to them, but most our client would say to us, we don't want anybody get into trouble. We don't want them to have a police record. We just want them to leave us alone, and that's it. So if you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me in bilingualsupportworker@migrantcentreni.org. And if you want to ring me, my number is 07827 297 119. So I can answer you. And if you do ring at weekends, you know, I don't work weekends, but I will get back to you as soon as we can. Okay.